They shot, they missed, they hit, and one of them was crowned British Open Sporting Champion 2024. We followed the action at North Yorkshire Shooting Ground at Swinton.
We were in the pub the other night having beers and every table was full of shooters and staying. The atmosphere has been fantastic.
Summer sport in Lapland. David goes out after roe, foxes and Volvos.
It's a nearly working vehicle.
Fieldsports membership solves a problem for gun grab victim Lewis Deadmond. Kent police create another problem.
It was already in the tens of thousands when we last spoke, but the number is just growing exponentially every day. And it almost seems like they're purposely delaying the situation to try and have a maximum impact on me.
Podcast this week is prospects and prices for the game shooting season ahead from Guns on Pegs. David has the news on the Fieldsports News Stump, and James brings you the latest YouTube hunting films in this week's Hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. For sporting clay shooters, the British Open is the big one. The one they would all love to win. It's the CPSA's last major championship of the season, held each year at the end of August before shooters switch to game or simply go into hibernation until clay competitions kick off again in the spring. This year, the British returns to Swinton in North Yorkshire, set in a lovely wooded valley that gives the E.J. Churchill team that runs it every opportunity to set a demanding course worthy of a British championship. The big question on everyone's mind is, who will come out on top and take the coveted title of British Open Sporting Champion?
People keep asking me who. I just don't know. You can't call it, and you can't rule any of them out. When you look at the list of people, you know, all the names, even in the veterans, super veterans, you know, I remember, you know, people like Stuart Clark, you know, I remember watching Stuart as a lad, you know what I mean, when he was on fire, and you've obviously got George in it, you know, Mark Windsor, and then you've got these youngsters, Billy Greenwood coming through, he's on fire, isn't he? You know, they're all right up there. So there's just so many. There's just so many good shots. It really is. Folds is there. It's great to see them all, and it just shows the cream sort of comes to the top, doesn't it?
More than just a clay competition, the event has a festival vibe about it, with flags and banners, sponsors' marquees, food and drink, and more. That's no accident, says the CPSA's Ian Parker.
One thing that we've tried to do in developing the championships, it's a day out as well as a competition. I think it's important, you know, to do that, and it's something we'll keep trying to do. It does limit us somewhat of where we can go, and but Churchill's, I mean, they do a fantastic job in doing it. And if you look now, it's, you know, it's part fair, part sort of corporate, part, you know, British Open Championship. So no, they've done a fantastic job for us.
We were in the pub the other night having beers, and every table was full of shooters and staying. The atmosphere has been fantastic. It's really proud of it, and just delighted for all the competitors, and just a big thank you to everybody involved to make it happen, because these things, they certainly take some putting on, and it's the end of a very busy season for us, so it's been exciting.
Nearly 1,000 competitors are booked in to shoot the 120 target qualifier over 4 days. Each day, the top shots in each class and category qualify to go through to Saturday's final, a brand new 75-bird course that will decide who joins the 6-man super final for the title.
The English is first past the post, and the British we've kept in this format. Personally, I like this format. I think it's fair because of the weather, obviously outdoor sport, and I think that's the thing with the qualification days. Doesn't matter whether you shoot on a windy day, a wet day, or a day like today on the qualification days. And today, obviously, all those that have qualified are shooting in more or less the same conditions unless it changes. So I like this format, and obviously it culminates in a super final, which is always good to watch, and you get the top 6. And it always seems to throw up in the time I've been doing it, the last 6 years now. It always seems to throw up, somebody quite surprising that gets into the super final. So yeah, I really like the format.
So far this year, the familiar names are topping the list. On day 1, George Digweed shoots an impressive 110 out of 120, leading the field until Martin Myers tops his score with 113. Day 2, and Phil Gray and John Lee both shoot 110 to join Saturday's finalists. On day 3, Browning shooter Nick Hendrick puts in not one, but 2 impressive performances. He leads the field for most of the day with 108 and also shoots the top score of 95 out of 100 on the British Open Sport Trap, which is running alongside the Sporting. Day 4, and Billy Bourne sweeps in with his Maruku MK38 trap gun and puts the proverbial cat among the pigeons, equalling Nick Hendrick's score on the Sport Trap and qualifying for the Sporting final with 111 out of 120. That means a gripping shoot-off between Nick and Billy for the Sport Trap title. They match each other target for target until it comes down to a sudden death, miss and out duel. It could go either way, but Billy blinks first and Nick takes the win.
I thought it was a good shoot-off, to be fair. It's always a bad way to win, I think, for someone to... Someone's got to lose, haven't they? But it's... when you're doing those missing out, there's always more pressure on the person following if they've hit the pair. Well, obviously, but yeah, so...
Do you feel the pressure? Does it affect you?
I feel it, but does it affect me? I don't think so.
Yeah.
With that one decided, it's on to Saturday's big final, and what a lineup we have. All the big names are here, but only 6 can make it through to the super final. It takes a shoot-off to separate the contenders for the last place, with 6 shooters tied on 66 out of 75. Mark Windsor makes it through, and the 6 finalists line up in front of an eager crowd. They carry their scores out of 75 with them, so Richard Folds on 69 starts with a 1-target lead over Martin Doughty, the next highest score. Richard starts well, but then misses a couple. The pressure is on, and any one of the 6 could still win. At the last stand, Richard still holds the lead, so he is last to shoot. He misses just 1 on the pairs. Then there's a seemingly impossible single. With full use of the gun, no one has hit it yet. Richard takes a deep breath and calls for the target. He misses with both barrels, but it doesn't matter. He's done enough. He is the British Open Sporting Champion for the 5th time in his career, the first in 1998.
And our overall high gun and British Open Sporting Champion 2024. Please put your hands together for Richard Folds.
He collects a gun from sponsor Browning as well as the historic Daily Telegraph trophy.
Only once or twice before, I believe.
5th time, I think this one is. Yeah.
Does it still mean as much?
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, it's the one everybody wants to win. It's the last major of the year, and everyone was here to try and win it. You know, to be honest, I didn't expect to come here and win it, but I'm absolutely delighted.
For the full scores, see the CPSA website linked below. And for more about Browning and Maruku guns, go to browning.eu. Thank you all who took part in that. Now, what's in this week's Fieldsports Extra? An auctioneer. Our lawyer Layla goes recruiting. And a Swedish fox shooter.
Yeah, but then you need to tan it. Otherwise it gets quite stiff and hard.
More from Lars in Swedish Lapland later in the show. Plus, prize next week is a fishing backpack from Orvis. And no reason you should only use it for fishing. Priced at £129, it's the Orvis Fly Fishing Sling Pack. It's one of the company's best sellers. And this week we gave away a peg on a simulated game shooting day in the Northwest with LYC Simulated Game Days. Become a Fieldsports member, now with insurance, and watch Fieldsports Extra to find out how to enter our free competitions. Link to that below. Now another old bag. It's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. The new shooting season for partridge and wildfowl is underway, with some reports suggesting it's been a sunny start. While that's not good for a day's wildfowling, goose numbers are expected to be high this season across the UK. BASC has taken the opportunity to remind wildfowlers to try and follow their sustainability code of practice in the hope of protecting the long-term future of shooting. If you need a reminder of what's in it, please click on the link below.
Brand new for this year, BAC has launched its Sustainable Shooting Code of Practice. This is the culmination of a lot of hard work, reviewing all of the available evidence relating to our quarry species, bringing it together into a really simple to understand document that enables you, our members, to shoot sustainably. So, it leaves me with nothing more to say than enjoy your season, shoot straight, shoot safe, shoot sustainably.
BASC has asked the government for advice for deer managers following an outbreak of the blue tongue virus in livestock. This week there were 27 reported cases of animals infected with the virus, spread across 10 different locations in the UK. DEFRA has set up a web page with advice on how to spot the disease and has imposed livestock movement restrictions in Norfolk and Suffolk. The disease isn't threatening to humans but can cause serious health issues to the creatures affected. It's believed to be spread by insects and is most prevalent in sheep and goats, although all animals, including deer, can be affected.
BASC has been in contact with APHA on the recent blue tongue outbreak and sought clarification for our members in the shooting sector. They have confirmed that deer management remains unaffected by the current restrictions in the control zones, so you can still enter ground, you can still cull deer, you can still move the carcasses of the deer you're culling into and out of those zones. Restrictions currently only apply to the movement of live animals. Obviously this is a changing situation and there's regular updates being brought out daily, so please keep an eye on the BASC website for further updates.
People who own hunting knives should check whether they'll still be legal. While the legislation brought in by the Conservatives covers what the authorities call zombie knives and machetes, it relates to knives with serrated blades. Anyone owning knives like those seen on the Home Office website has until the 24th of September 2024 to surrender it to their local police station or face prosecution. One of the biggest charity clay shoots in the country has announced its dates for the fundraiser in 2025. The Water Priory shoot in Yorkshire helped raise more than £200,000 for country sports earlier this year. It's hoping for more of the same when the guns take to the clay shooting fields in May 2025. Tickets for teams of 8 are now up for grabs. You can find out more on Water Priory's website, link below. A survey to monitor the number of juvenile salmon has uncovered a population crash. The Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust has carried out a unique tagging programme to count the number of salmon parr in Dorset's River Frome. It's a survey which has been taking place every September for the past 50 years. Scientists use electrofishing techniques to capture the immature salmon before tagging them and returning them unharmed to the river to monitor their progress. Their data suggests salmon numbers have crashed by 80% in the last 40 years.
The salmon particularly are in massive decline. The numbers have dropped to about probably 10% of the numbers they used to be some years back. Back in the day, in the mid-80s, we were getting 3,500 salmon come up this river. Last year we had 500. So the problem is principally at sea, but we can't do much about that in terms of management. But within the river, there's many factors affect their ability to survive. And we're trying to find out what those critical factors are, because we can manage in the river. We can do things like cleaning the gravel. We can cut back the shade to encourage the weed growth. We can actually plant the weed growth, which is very important to the young fish.
A new organisation has been launched using fly fishing to help youngsters with complex social and educational needs. Angling Mentors uses angling to help engage children and young people who come from difficult backgrounds. Shane Davis, a school teacher from Hampshire, founded the organisation to help pass on the health benefits of fly fishing. He's recruiting qualified angling coaches to help work with those in need. Children from the charity were at the Orvis Saltwater Fly Fishing Festival last weekend, and Shane explained how using fishing translates to helping them to re-engage with education.
For me as a practitioner, I can direct a young person to engage them in a classroom environment as a consequence of doing this. We can use measuring fish as a way to do maths. We can use writing a logbook of what you've caught as a way of doing English. And if we can, if we could bottle it, it'd be amazing.
You'll be able to see a film on the festival and more about Angling Mentors here on Fieldsports Channel in a couple of weeks. A new study by scientists in Norway has discovered an increase in their otter population with surprising consequences. Otters like this one were thought to be extinct in southern Norway in the 1980s, but the species has recovered. While still rare, there is now thought to be a viable population, and it's proving to be good news for endangered seabirds. A study by the Norwegian Institute for Natural Research shows where otters now thrive again, mink don't, and otters don't predate on nesting seabirds as much as mink. Thanks to Per Holmseth for the story. A wolf pack has claimed another victim in an Indian village, this time a 2-year-old girl. Villagers in the Masi area of northern India are patrolling at night to scare the wolf pack away. The latest attack is the 8th fatality since mid-July. One of the wolves was captured soon after the attack, but authorities in the province believe there are others in the pack still on the prowl. The Indian Times reports that the animals are believed to attack villagers who sleep outside their homes, searching for cooler conditions. An elderly woman has also been attacked and injured in the last few days. And finally, gamekeepers are busy enough in the first week of the partridge season, so spare a thought for George Saxton, who's going the extra mile. George is an underkeeper at an estate in Sussex, and he's decided to try and raise funds for the Gamekeepers Welfare Trust. Not by running, this is just his training. No, despite having no boxing experience at all, he's getting into the ring in December in a charity bout. If you'd like to support George, the link to his Just Giving page is below. The fight is in Chichester in West Sussex on the 7th of December 2024.
On the 14th of October, I start an 8-week training camp, which will be training twice a week, sparring, get myself ready for the fight. But at the moment, it's just going to the gym, running, trying to eat healthfully, working the bag and just doing bits like that, really. And it's raising money for a good cause, a good charity in my eyes that need more recognition, so it'd be good.
That's all from us, the channel that always packs a punch. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. And David reminds me to ask you politely if you could like and subscribe under this film. Thank you. Now, our membership has been helping gun owners get their guns back, all thanks to our terrifying lawyer, Layla. Here's one gun owner we featured earlier in the summer who has benefited from her advice. We met Lewis Deadmond just a few months ago after he approached us looking for help with his gun grab incident in Kent. Kent police told the professional pest controller that it was going to take a £3,000 psychiatric report before there was any chance of getting back the guns he needs for his business. The trouble was, no one was willing to do one for him. Our film prompted help and a solution.
Just after, I think it was a couple of weeks after the video went live with Fieldsports, I got a phone call from my FLO who offered a sudden solution to the problem of putting in for a new grant firearms request with Shoot Cert to get the medical report, and he said that he could accept that if I did that. Okay. Which significantly cut the cost of the psych report, and Shoot Cert went fantastic. They contacted my GPs, they gave them the allotted time that they had to come back in, and once they'd received my medical report, they had it over to me within about 2 days, I think.
At this point, Lewis thought he'd done all that had been asked of him, but no. He was told that a police report would be submitted to the superintendent, who will make the final decision in 6 to 18 months. And of course, there is still no guarantee of getting the guns back.
And then he started talking about the money going through the appeals process and trying to warn me off there. He was saying that a lot of the time, or the way he put it was, most of the time you don't get your money back from the appeals process. And then I highlighted the gentleman in Kent that did get his money back, which he didn't really like too much. And then I turned around and said, well, I don't really want to go down that route, but if I have to, I have the funds to do it, and I'm fully prepared to do it. Especially since it's starting to cost me tens of thousands. I mean, it was already in the tens of thousands when we last spoke, but the number is just growing exponentially every day. And it almost seems like they're purposely delaying the situation to try and have a maximum impact on me. I've recently received an opportunity to the golden job that I've been chasing for a very long time. Before I even started my career, this was my dream job. And a chance encounter has led me into that job now. And I'm not so, how can I put this nicely? I'm not so patient with the police anymore. My patience has come to an end. I need these back, because this is gonna, if I lose this opportunity, it's an opportunity of a lifetime, and if I lose it, it's gonna have detrimental effect on me in terms of my finances, my business. I even said to the firearms officer when he was here, my FLO, I said, in 18 months I may not even have a business.
Fieldsports Channel's in-house lawyer Layla has been helping Lewis and has now decided it's time to write to the Chief Constable.
Layla's been fantastic. Every time I speak to her, I just say thank you all the time, because she's just... I probably would have got through this process on my own, but it would have been a hell of a lot more stressful, and it would have taken a hell of a lot more time. Layla, she really knows her stuff. So she's produced a new letter for me, which is actually going to be sent off today at the time of filming, which is an official complaint to the Chief Constable for Kent Police, complaining about the time frame that they've given me and the impact it's going to have on me and my business in terms of finances. But the problem with this area of law, especially when you're in between where they haven't actually revoked your license, there's no time frame set out in law that they have to, or in guidelines that they have to adhere to. So essentially you're at their mercy at the end of the day.
I was hoping that we'd be able to draw a line under this and we'd be going stalking.
Well, fingers crossed the next time we meet, that'll be the case.
To find out how to join our membership, giving you access to public liability and legal expenses insurance, plus our FAB Field Sports Advice Bureau run by Layla, head to fieldsportschannel.tv. Thanks, Lewis. Now, he didn't just film Lewis. David had an exciting week last week, catching up with friends in Lapland. Here's his road movie. We love filming in Sweden for its people, its landscapes, its hunting, and now it's Volvos.
No, they're brilliant.
After working a winter season north of the Arctic Circle, David's car-mad son Archie has dragged his father back to Lapland to collect one of the restoration projects he left behind.
It's a nearly working vehicle.
It means a 4,000-mile round trip in one sub-1,000-pound Volvo to pick up another.
Just explain why we're here, Mr. Wright.
So we're here because this is my Volvo 142 Deluxe. I lived in Sweden for a while, was given this, left it in Sweden for a year and a half, and now we've come to get it. It's a bit of a rust box, a lot of sentimental value, but hopefully bring it home and fix it.
As David does not leave home without a camera, it's a chance to record the moment, plus grab other content with our Mr. Fix-It, Lars Monk from the organisation Heart of Lapland. He's a fly fisherman, hunter and homesteader, and he's just been given a bit of hunting history.
Well, a good friend of mine in the village, Holger, he came by one day and asked me if I wanted this contraption, and I was like, but what is it? First I thought it was something for like spearing salmon. Yeah. I don't know the word, but that was done back in the old days, but they were made of iron. But he told me that they used to dig these down into the ground, and then they would bait it here on the top. They would put a kind of bait here, and it was actually a fox trap they used in the winter. So the fox would then start jumping up, and eventually one of the paws would get in between and get stuck, and it would freeze to death overnight. And they could go out and collect the fur and make a fur hat or whatever they're made of, fur coat. So it's actually an old fox trap, and it's so simple, and at the same time it's so brilliant. Of course nowadays, I mean, trap has to kill nowadays, but I mean back then when you wanted fur to keep warm, I think it's brilliant. It's so easy. It's such a clever contraption.
The piece is thought to be between 80 and 100 years old. Thankfully, we'll be using more modern foxing hardware this evening in the shape of his Sacco in 308. Foxes will actually be second on the menu. We're starting by trying to call in a roebuck, which can be tricky for the guys up here as the season starts late.
We start up here the 16th of August, and some years the rut is not over the 16th, but it's right at the end. So it's really difficult to get any really good calling sessions in. It can be a very, very, very short season. So buck calling here is pretty difficult. And then also you'll see, I mean, we have a little bit of open grazing ground up here where they can, like when I see you go out and with your friends back home, you have these open areas where you can see quite far. You have these not fences, but what do you call it, with bush hedges you can sneak around with, where we have a few open fields here and the rest just looks like that, where you might have sight, if you're lucky, up to 100 meters, but most of the time 25, 30 meters of sight.
But if you're bringing them into 5 yards, it doesn't matter, Lars.
No, of course not, but I'm not there yet. Not yet. Maybe later. Maybe later.
Joining us this evening is Robert, who expertly guided Paul and David through the snow after Capercaillie. He has 2 calls to use on the bucks tonight.
I've got a Swedish one. It's called Nordic Row. That one. Yeah. And then we got what I think is a Klausen call. Yeah.
As our options are limited and David and Archie are only in town for a day, they decide to try some foxing using a brand new call.
I'll just try and turn it just so it doesn't. You think it has to go up? It must be like this. Doesn't it say? Raspy old hen.
That's the one that you bark with. But you gotta put it far back in that, against that, what do you call gommer?
You know what? You give it a go.
Oh, no. Jeez. Oh, Robert.
Do you want some paper?
I don't think he's very well.
No, but you know what's strange? The first time, it didn't taste of much, but now it's really good.
This has all gone very wrong very quickly, and there's no roe, no fox. Happily, there is a 1971 Volvo 142 Deluxe in need of TLC heading home to the UK. If you want to learn more about this wonderful part of the planet, go to heartoflapland.com. Thanks, Lars, and everyone else who took part in this. Now, lots of game seasons open this week across the UK, including partridges and wildfowl. Back at the game fair in July, I caught up with Digby Taylor from gunsonpegs.com, who had just come out with his annual survey of game shooting. We gave you his take on grouse prospects a few weeks ago. Here's what he had to say about pheasants.
Just describe what prices of birds have done over the last few years and where are they now?
Yeah, so we've had a rocky few years with COVID and bird flu.
From whose point of view? From the because obviously the shoots want the price to be as high as possible, and you know the guns want it to be as low as possible.
Yes, exactly.
So
Yep.
what do you mean rocky?
So bird flu in particular really impacted the supply of pheasant and partridge chicks and eggs in this country. So a poult price, when I started working at Guns on Pegs 7-8 years ago, would have been around about £4, £3.95 to probably £4.25, something like that. And the bird flu. The shortage of birds in bird flu made that poult price rocket. You know, some people were spending sort of £16 a poult. I know that's an outlier.
We heard over 20 for wasn't that? Well, somebody said there was an auction where it was £48 or something, but then
Yes.
somebody said that didn't actually happen.
I think someone bid on it in the pub after a few drinks.
Right. Okay.
But serious prices of poults, and poults as an input cost. If you're shooting a return of 33%. For every extra pound you spend on a poult as a shoot, that's going to cost the gun £3 because you're shooting a third of the birds. So an increase of poult prices of £4 or £5 meant the shoots were having to charge sort of £10, £12 more than they, or should have been charging £10 or £12 more than they were. So prices of pheasants, which is a good indicator of the rest of the game birds. 3 years ago, £45.50 average for a pheasant across the country, ex-VAT. Last year, the average price was £49.30, I think. Or yes, £49.30.
Just under £50.
Just under £50. So it's interesting, actually, last year. We asked two questions. We asked them, what did you charge for a pheasant last year? And what do you want to charge for a pheasant this year? Now, last year, the shoot said we want to charge £50.50 when we asked them in June, July. And when we asked them this year, what did you actually get for a pheasant? It was £49.30. So because
not far off then, actually.
Well, yes, not far off, but you would have thought in June most of the shooting would have been sold, June, July. So you would have thought that price would be pretty steady.
Oh no, but you lot always complain about the fact that, that people book their shooting in October, you know.
Yeah.
So we are pretty rubbish as shooters, you know. Most of what we shoot we don't know about until a month before.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, absolutely. But because of the availability of shooting last year in particular, I don't. The shoots weren't able to get the price that they wanted. So £49.30 last year, and then this year, guns intend to charge £49.33 on average for a pheasant.
So it's actually dipped slightly, very, very slightly.
Come down from their intentions, but I think they're more likely to get an average of £49.33 this year than they were. You know, last year they wanted £50.50, and they got £49.30. This year they want £49.33, and I think they'll probably get closer to that.
And you can watch and hear the whole of Digby's chat in our podcast this week, link below. Now, from a tent in the grounds of Blenheim Palace to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, brought to you by James Marchington, it's Hunting YouTube.
This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the latest and best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Here's what I've picked for you this time. First this week, Kendall and Lee from the Seek One channel are after some big alligators that are snatching residents' pets. They're basically foul hooking them with spinning rods, then battling to reel them in. Next, here's a film from 2018 that's just made it onto YouTube. It's from TV's 60 Minutes series and follows an Oklahoma woman who travels to Mongolia to learn about the traditional way of hunting with eagles. Meanwhile, in the States, Colin and Grant from the Hunting Public channel are bow hunting elk. There's plenty of good-natured banter and a heart-stopping moment when they call 3 into range at the same time. Over to Cape Town in South Africa at AirTac Hunting are on farmyard pest control, using a couple of FX air guns to pick off house sparrows and doves. The results are pretty devastating at ranges of up to 100 metres. Back to the UK, and our old friend Andy Crow is on the Jack Pike channel with a stonking 350 pigeons shot over decoys on stubble with his mate Gary. James Crowther, the cigar-smoking hunter, spends a soggy August bank holiday stalking red stags on the Isle of Arran off the west coast of Scotland. He blanks but has a great day nonetheless. Moving to the other end of the country and in very different weather, Tim Weston is enjoying a simulated game day at the Stockton shoot in Wiltshire. Action-packed and great value for money, he says. Finally this week, Dutch hunter Tok is out early, decoying geese in this beautifully filmed video. The sound of aircraft is a bit intrusive, but at least you can turn on the auto-translated captions to get a rough idea of what he's saying. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the eye symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you'd like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, jamesm@fieldsportschannel.tv.
And that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv, where you can click to like us on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, pop your email address into our register page, and we'll contact you about this show. Fieldsports Britain, it's at 7 PM UK time on Wednesday. And this has been Fieldsports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.